Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Happy Harvest Homestead. As you know, if you watched my last video, I was really hoping to just sit down and talk to you guys about why I decided to move my rabbits from my colony into tractors. I've made 2 videos about doing it, but I haven't explained why yet, and that kind of nags at me. But it's looking like I'm not going to be able to do that quite yet. Hopefully I'll be able to squeeze it into this video. But before I do that, I have to catch you guys up on some drama that's been happening and then take you along as I finally fix that bit of drama. Another thing you will remember if you watched my last video is that I was experimenting with this mini pasture pen and seeing if the rabbits would escape out of it or not. And for the first little bit, they were doing okay. No one was escaping. And then they did start escaping under. Despite my best efforts to put the pasture pen on flat ground, there are still so many tiny little divots and holes in the ground, even at its flattest spot, that some of them were able to squeeze under and slip out despite my efforts of blocking it. So we had many escapees, and that was really frustrating and hard. Thankfully, this patch I've moved them to, they aren't escaping yet, but it's looking like using the pasture pens aren't going to work. So we now have 4 regular-sized tractors that we have to fit all our rabbits into. We have 2 tractors that are completely ready, that already have rabbits in them, and we have 1 tractor that up to this point was not ready for rabbits, but just a few minutes ago was fixed up and is now ready to house rabbits. So we have 3 tractors that are each 3 by 6 feet. So technically they can only fit 2 rabbits, but each tractor also has this little raised platform thing that adds a few more square feet to it. And I've decided to just squeeze 3 rabbits in each tractor because I think that's what we're going to need to do. Even though it's not ideal, I think it will be okay. Especially if I, on purpose, put specific rabbits with specific rabbits to mitigate fighting. So sadly, we will not be able to have rabbits in a pasture pen. It hurts my heart so bad because I love to see them with no wire on the ground, not in a static colony, just free to be on the pure grass and eat it and run through it and hide in it, just like, they're meant to be in the wild. But it's turning out to be that with our property and all the slopes and hills we have, it's not going to work out. So these girls are going to go into some tractors, and then I might be able to squeeze some more of the colony rabbits into some tractors too. We'll have to see how that goes. But I'm going to take you with me. Alright, everybody is in. I'm going to now take them down to their new tractor area. Okay, so we are now downstairs, and sorry that the weird loud fan is on, but I'm going to try to talk over it, and hopefully you can still hear me. So, we have 3 tractors right now. Let's pretend we have 4 tractors, and let's include all the rabbits and see what our final placement of all of them is going to be, so I know where to properly place these does. I want to make sure the rabbits I put together are not super likely to fight. So I'm going to try to place these new rabbits in with rabbits who they're used to being with already. Alright, let's see. When we fix up the 4th tractor, we can put Ivanhoe, Elodie, and Ivy in that one. Then that just leaves Zuzu, and then these 5 little does. We could put Constance in with those 2, because she's used to being with them. We could put maybe Asha in with them, because she was in the colony with the Acrobat. And then we could have Lavender, Italy, and Leah in that tractor. That'd be 3, 3, and 3. Oh wait, whoa, Zuzu. No, Zuzu's going in here, so we'll have 4, Asha, Lavender, Leah, and Italy in that one. 3 in this one, 3 in this one, 3 in the imaginary 4th one, and 4 little does in that one. All the other rabbits are going to be mostly full grown, so if I have to squeeze 4 rabbits into a tractor that's meant for 2 rabbits, it'll be better that they're all young does. They're a little bit smaller and hopefully take up a little less space. Oh, it's starting up again. Okay, so now that we've made the plan, let's execute the plan. Alright, I need everybody except for Constance. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, that's you 4. Make sure to close this before Constance gets out. Then let's close this. Here, Connie. Alright, there you go. You 3 are good. Alright, all those rabbits are good. Now let's come grab Zuzu real quick. Put her in with Acrobat and Sterling. Zuzu, where are you? Oh, there you are. You're behind the greens feeder. Okay, now everyone is where they are meant to be. Oh, and in case you're wondering about this tractor, yes, the tarp stuff kind of was getting old and fell off. I have plans to fix it, and they have enough shade right now with their little resting mat thing, so that's going to be fixed soon. So I guess now I should finally go up to the colony where it's a little bit less loud and explain why I've moved most of my rabbits into tractors and plan to move the rest soon. Okay, we're now in the colony. So prepare yourselves and sit down, get a drink, because we're in for a very long story. So I've had my rabbits in a colony for a long time, and I really love the colony setup. I've tried rabbits in cages before, and you know my views on that. I'll link the video I made about that right up here. I've also raised rabbits in tractors before. I've tried having my breeders in tractors, and I found out I didn't really like that. So the setup I've settled with is breeders and little babies in this colony, and then the grow outs in tractors or pasture pens on grass, which I guess now will be just tractors because the pasture pen is not working out like I hoped it would. And you may be a bit confused because what I just did goes completely against my professed favorite system. And the reason behind that is because we're having some problems with our current colony, and the reasons for me moving my rabbits to tractors are many. One of the main reasons is greens. As you see, we have greens in the feeder over there, and our rabbits eat a natural diet, and that diet is set in stone. I'm not changing it. That's going to stay. So I'm kind of forming the rest of my rabbitingness around that. That's one of my foundations of raising meat rabbits. So as part of that diet, I have to obviously forage fresh greens for them to eat every day. And that's recently become much more difficult for me because of this. It's a wrist brace. You may have noticed in the past few videos I've been wearing my wrist brace again. And yes, just like last summer, my right wrist is injured and I have to rest it and not use it a lot. This has thrown a huge wrench in our plans of not just our meat rabbits, but every other facet of my life, both homesteading and otherwise, because I use my hands like all day, every day. And having one of them gone leaves me half capable, or sometimes even less than half capable, of doing most of the things I usually do. And picking greens every day for rabbits is one of those things. So when my wrist started hurting again, I debated switching the rabbits back to hay and, just feeding them their winter diet all through the year. But I don't know if I could emotionally stand walking outside every day, seeing the lush, beautiful greens everywhere, and then feeding my rabbits hay. It just goes against, everything that I've built my rabbitry on. So one of the reasons I put my rabbits in tractors is it will, instead of bringing the greens to them, like I have been doing, I'm bringing them to the greens. So as soon as these last 3 rabbits are moved into a tractor, I will no longer have to pick greens for the meat rabbits, and they'll just be able to harvest greens themselves. I can easily move tractors with one hand, so that takes care of that problem. Another reason tractors have become so appealing in this phase of our rabbit raising is that we are remodeling our colony. You can probably tell that our colony doesn't look as good as it usually does. We have bits of stuff laying everywhere. We have a pallet kind of set to the side. I've begun the process of remodeling, and then my wrist got hurt, and I can't do it anymore. So I'm going to have to enlist family members to help me, and it'll probably take a lot longer than I was originally planning. But we're going to remodel our colony. It's going to be amazing. So as part of remodeling the colony, we need to remodel the colony. We need to make the walls higher because we're going to be raising the level of the floor. We're going to need to make sure the walls are still tall enough the acrobat can't escape. We're going to have to be bringing in a whole bunch of dirt in here. It's going to be a huge, massive project, and it's going to be much easier if we don't have a whole bunch of rabbits chasing after us for food every second we're in here. So having rabbits in the tractors away from our work site is going to make remodeling the colony so much easier. So I thought this was a great plan, and I was going to do it, sometime soon. And then all of a sudden, I just had to do it right away because of this situation. It might be a little more difficult for you to see now because they just all of a sudden decided to fix the problem by themselves, but we had this burrow going out, and for a while it just kind of stayed right here, and it was fine. It was a nice burrow, but let me show you the other side. So all of a sudden they decided they didn't want the burrow to end here, and they started digging it out, and I already had put wire over this area so they couldn't dig out. But then they started digging, and like the wire ends right there. So I was super afraid that they were going to escape again out of the same burrow that Acrobat had dug so long ago and escaped out of so many times. So I was struggling to pick greens, and I was contemplating the awful prospect of having to remodel with rabbits in here, and then rabbits were almost going to escape. And then I really do think it was the Lord who put this thought in my head. I believe it was Sunday afternoon, and I was feeling awful and sad, and then I got this idea: what if I just move all the rabbits into tractors? So I contemplated it for like 10 seconds, and then mentioned it out loud to someone. I was like, hey, what if I put my rabbits in tractors, and explain the situation, and explain why? And they were like, sure, I guess. So it was at that point that I picked up my camera and started brainstorming if that idea was even feasible. And if you remember, it was, I think, 2 videos ago, the brainstorming if it could actually work. And then the video after that, the video that's right before this one, you saw I actually put my plans into action and started the process of moving rabbits into tractors. And now here we are with only 3 rabbits left, waiting for one last tractor to be fixed up. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, so I got so desperate and afraid that the rabbits were going to escape that I put... It was kind of like a dish like this. It was silver. It was kind of starting to rust. It was getting really old. So I kind of shoved it in the entrance of the burrow, and so it was kind of, the rabbits were blocked from getting in there. And then all of a sudden I came out, and they had dug a hole this way. It had covered up the entire thing. So now, in addition to my metal thing blocking it, they have a whole bunch of other dirt blocking it. So they're now digging this way. Which, of course, as soon as I start moving them out, they decide, hey, I'm actually going to dig a burrow in an okay place and stay cool all by myself. But I'm going to move them out anyways, because there are still too many pros I'll miss out on if I leave them in here. But as you also know, if you watched my previous 2 videos about the whole process of this, it took me a few days after my brainstorm to actually decide to do this. Mainly because it's like a lot of work up front, to get all the tractors ready. And I'd be, like, missing out on the colony. Like, I love colonies. I love I've talked about the pros before, and I love colonies so much. The freedom, the enjoyment, the community. And, I mean, like, tractors have their pros too. But especially, I guess, as you know, in our situation, we need small, cage-like tractors to have the rabbits in. We can't have patcher pens, and we can't have big tractors because everything's so hilly, and I only have one hand, and I can't, like, move a huge tractor. But it does make me very sad that I'm going to have my rabbits in tiny little tractors instead of this awesome colony that they're so used to. Oh, and by the way, sorry, my camera was having trouble, so it's a few days later, and I'm editing this video, and I'm going to finish it up here now. So this is going to be the view you get for the rest of the video. Something else that I'm kind of sad about and also a little worried about is the possibility that these does will give birth in the heat. In tractors, there's no way for the rabbits to go into burrows to stay cool. And though the recent sickness that we've been dealing with our rabbits has pretty much stopped with the breeding, there is still a chance that some of these rabbits are pregnant, and obviously they're going to be with bucks. So we could have new pregnancies, and I would feel much more comfortable having my awesome, amazing, hardy core breeder does give birth in a colony where there are burrows and they can go underground and stay cool than have them give birth in a tractor where it's hot and they can't get away from the heat. As showcased recently with Jolty, our Angora rabbit's birth in the heat, that went disastrously. Thankfully she was okay, but the kids died. There can be complications with rabbits giving birth in the heat, and last summer I even had one doe die from giving birth in the heat. All her babies died, and she died, and it was all really sad. So while the chances are slim that they will give birth, it is still a slight risk that I'm a little bit worried about. But really, there's nothing much I can do about it. I am just going to do the best I can in the setup they're in and hope that any births they do have will go decently. Something else I'm worried about is that the tractors are going to be too crowded. Obviously, I don't have enough tractors to house all of my current rabbits comfortably or even properly. I'm already crowding them, and as you saw with Acrobat and Zuzu, Acrobat's chasing her and pulling out her fur. And while that is normal at the very first, it's been a few days since I've introduced them, and Acrobat still is like kind of attacking Zuzu, not like super meanly, but just bugging her often. So forcing these rabbits, who are used to living in this huge, wide open colony, to live in overcrowded tractors is worrying, especially because they're not used to it. But then, on a happy note, one last thing I did want to mention about a good thing about having the rabbits in tractors is that I'm hoping to finally kick this illness. None of our rabbits are skinny anymore, and no rabbit has died since Ladybug. And I think the stress of nursing kits and being exposed to the illness is likely the cause of her downfall. But all the other rabbits are doing okay, but I still kind of worry because, if Ladybug, who was doing okay, gave birth and, that's stressful and could cause upping in parasites, and the nursing obviously taxes rabbit's body and that could cause an upping in parasites. I'm kind of worried about what will happen to the rest of the does when they have to go through the same thing eventually. So having them in tractors will take them away from this possibly infected ground onto fresh ground, and they'll be able to fully flush their system with amazing, awesome, high quality, fresh forage and herbs and plants and medicinal things. And then when they come back into the colony, I will have covered this possibly contaminated bedding with a fresh layer of dirt. So hopefully they'll be able to kick their illness fully as they're on pasture, and then they'll come back to a hopefully better situation, and hopefully we can have more of a fresh start and finally get rid of this illness so that nursing mamas and even babies won't deal with it anymore this fall. So I think this finally concludes this update. I am excited to bring you along as I remodel the colony. Hopefully we're done with everything by this fall when breeding season will start again. So we'll have a fresh colony, super healthy rabbits, and the beginning of a breeding season to encounter a whole bunch more adventures and learning experiences. And while I do look forward to that day, for now I'm going to enjoy this moment of easy animal chores and not having to pick a whole bunch of greens, and happy, if a little bit crowded, meat rabbits. Thanks for watching.